believe in the boogeyman?
Hi there, what can we say about the legend Mr. Alfie Lewis that hasn't already been said? Alfie Lewis pioneered sport kickboxing, sport karate, whatever you want to call it, into a new era of sport martial arts. He changed the way that people thought about the arts. He moved it into something that was more free to the mind as well. His techniques and his dynamicness of technique and his combinations inspired loads of people, inspires me still today to be unbelievable martial artists. I think I don't like to give people names, but he is without doubt, you know, he's like the Bruce Lee of the sport martial art world. You know, he's so philosophical, and his ability to translate his message of the sport martial arts to many people around the world is unbelievable. He is seen as the greatest sport martial artist ever, and I think most people would agree with that. He was miles ahead of other martial artists, and his techniques today are still used in the sport martial arts arena, and people still want to aspire to be him. He's a true legend. An absolute, such a wise person as well. I've got to know him over the last sort of 8-9 years, and he's an amazing person. I look at him now as truly as a father. He's a great mentor, and someone who is always a giver. He loves the martial arts more than anybody else I think I know. You know, he's a true martial artist. He's such a special person in the martial arts world, and we're very privileged to have him here, and we should all listen to what he has to say and take on the knowledge and his wisdom that he has, and utilise that, and while he's on this planet, because he is a special person. So in my view, you know, Alfie Lewis is sport martial arts. He is freestyle martial arts. He was the one who pioneered it, and still today, you know, people want to emulate him. So I want to thank Alfie for being the person he is. Thank you for all of his knowledge that he's given me and every other martial artist around the world. One of the other things to point out as well is he is a man of the arts, not just his sport martial arts, a man of the martial arts, and that is very rare as well. Such an open-minded person, that he embodies all the arts, and as you know, and that's very rare as well. So I hope this video finds you well, Mr. Lewis, and I hope you like what everyone said on it, and I hope you like what's been put together for you, and all of you, take care, bye.
Remember, the 5th of November. I can, more especially that of 1984. It was around 8:30 p.m. on Monday when I found myself just yards outside the Caribbean Centre, Toxteth, Liverpool. I shall never forget the pain, as like a snake I reeled on the ground, fighting for my breath, fighting for my life. All things considered, this was another fine mess I got myself into. Suddenly, my body began to straighten as I received an overdue intake of oxygen. I clambered to my feet, looked up in time to see a spectacular array of fireworks light up the night sky. Someone up there was looking out for me and that person wasn't Guy Fawkes. The whole thing had come to a head on that very night. Everyone partnered up to spar. As always, I headed for Alfie. And this time, I was up for it. And he'd most probably just had enough of me. Perhaps it's just me going off on one again. But on this particular occasion, something else was at play. I can't put my finger on it, even to this day, but everything seems so clear, so clean, so crisp. Alfie hit me with a side kick, which knocked me the length of the Caribbean centre. I stubbornly, quickly regained my footing and launched myself back in, only to be greeted by the best back kick I've ever had the displeasure of being on the end of. I thought it had split my spleen. After about 30 seconds, there had been zero change in my condition. I remember a few guys opening the emergency fire doors and got me outside at the first. I thought they were going to finish me off. All joking aside, the lesson had been well learned. As I walked back through the fire doors, my head held low. Andrew Boyce inquired, "Are you okay, Bob?" To which I replied, "Yeah." Alfie looked relaxed, and when I asked him to continue sparring, he just laughed and said, "I think we've done enough, Bob." A statement from which I somehow managed to draw some form of dignity. So remember, the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason and plot. For I see no reason why the freestyle season should ever be forgot.
Alfie was without doubt the world's greatest point fighter, but and that is now in the past. But in the present, in the now, you've got to look at Alfie's record as a coach, and I don't think there's been anybody in the world who has produced more phenomenal fighters and champions from one club than Alfie Lewis.
So who are we here to talk about, Tony?
Alfie somebody, Alfie what? Alfie Garner? No, Alfie Lewis. Alfie Lewis, of course.
Alfie Lewis.
No, Alfie Lewis.
The one and only Alfie Lewis.
Well, apparently there's another Lewis coming up now. His son, he's got an 18-year-old son, hasn't he?
Oh yeah.
And Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus, yeah.
I haven't met him, but I've heard a lot about him.
Yeah, I think he's about 18. He's a good
following
fighter.
in his dad's
He
footsteps.
is following in his dad's footsteps, yeah.
Alfie, trying to work out how long I've known him. over 30 years, it's got to be.
Yeah.
I think it was the early 80s when I first saw him starting to compete.
Yeah.
He used to compete in our North of England championships.
Oh yeah.
And he'd have a black gi on or a red gi on or something. I know I always used to advise him to put a karate, but I noticed then how good he was.
Yeah.
When did you meet him?
Probably at the same similar sort of time, Terry, about the 80s. He was an inspiration to everyone at the time. He was a revolution really in freestyle fighting. A pioneer. It wasn't for Alfie. I think a lot of the...
You watched him fight, did you?
Yeah. Very fast.
Yeah.
Very good.
You know, a lot of people used to say, oh, he's mouthy, and he was mouthy, but as a good mutual friend of all of ours, Gary Spires, who was a cloak, unfortunately no longer with us, I said to Gary once, it doesn't have rabbit on a lot.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, but you've got a lot to rabbit on about, which, you know, just because... Yeah.
And still has.
And you know, I think it was 5 times world champion, how many, 10, 12 times?
13 times European champion as well. Yeah.
That was in the, what, World Association?
Yeah, WACO,
Kickboxing organized. Well, WACO, yeah. Just in case people don't know WACO.
Yeah.
Or saying that we're saying Alfie's WACO.
Yeah.
No, a good, strong, innovative, very flexible fighter.
Yeah, and also not just like a freestyle fighter like you see a lot of people. He could actually really fight, Alfie. I always considered him and still do a great warrior, not just a paper tiger. He was never a paper tiger and isn't a paper tiger, and he could actually do it.
And you know, from the karate people, they always tend to look down at his politics. I remember when he got on the All-Stars British team that I was on for many years.
Yeah. Was that Tiki Donovan? Was it?
Tiki Donovan. It was the you know, the guy who was choosing the team. Yeah. Donovan wouldn't have put him on the team if he hadn't. I remember Donovan's talking to me. I can do an impression of Donovan. He went, he can't half motor. I said, what? Meant he couldn't half motor, couldn't half move. Yeah. I think Alfie was on the All-Stars British team a couple of years. Yeah. And made a real... I'm sure he won the Europeans that way.
Yeah. Also, there's people may remember a great martial artist, Danny Connor. And Danny took Alfie under his wing. Danny's no longer with us, unfortunately. He died in 2000, but
another good
I would presume, if I may, to talk on behalf of Danny, and if Danny could be here with us now, I'm sure he'd be delighted to...
You spent quite a lot of time with Danny.
I spent a lot of time with Danny. Danny introduced me to China. I went out to visit Danny's old master in China, but he used to talk a lot about Alfie. Alfie was his lad, you know. He was his protege as a club.
I can remember him talking to me about him as well.
Yeah. What did he say? Did he say, how would you have gone on against him, Terry? Would you have beat him? Or
of course I'd have beat him.
If you'd never met him?
Of course I'd have beat him. What would I have done? He came after...
What would you have done?
What would I have done against him? Probably the same as I've done against anyone I faced. Attack him, try and kick him in the head, but...
That's not very nice, is it?
Figuratively speaking. But unfortunately, he'd probably been trying to kick me in the head as well. Yeah. I've no idea. He was very fast, he could switch techniques, very tricky, cagey fighter.
Was innovative, wasn't he?
Innovative, and deceptively fast.
Oh yeah.
Plus, you know, you couldn't say, well, I'll move straight in on him, because he could move straight in as well. No, I'm not going to say any more, because, as I say, he's got a big son, so I'll be a bit conservative about that. But Mark's clever.
Yeah, Marcus might be knocking on the door in a minute.
You know, I hadn't seen Alfie for a number of years, and the last time I met up with him, it was late last year, unfortunately, at the funeral of a good mutual friend of ours. It was Mr. French, Stephen French's dad, passed away, and we were all there to pass our last respects to him. And we got together then, was talking. And he promised to stay in touch, but he never does.
Well, it's never too late. I could get him on the phone now.
Get him here, I'll challenge him right
there.
Yeah? Absolutely. Well, we don't need mats. Don't get too serious. No, I'm pleased to say these few words on Alfie's. Anyone who doesn't know who Alfie is.
He's a great legend of Liverpool. Yeah, and a freestyle kickboxing, and he's a great warrior. I'm proud, very proud to call him a friend.
I'm very pleased to call him a good mate of mine as well.
I'll get him on the phone now.
You get him on the phone,
okay?
That'll do. Okay.
Sure. No gloves.
Take care, Alfie.
Okay, take care,
See
Alfie.
you soon, my
Bye.
friend.
Alfie Lewis, man. Let me just give you a little bit of short history on Alfie Lewis from my perspective. You know, I always heard about Alfie Lewis. Always heard about him as being the greatest fighter from Europe, the Nasty Anderson of Europe, and you know, I'm hearing from other great fighters. So when other great fighters talk about a fighter, then that says something about them. But I never really got to see him. I just heard about him. So one day I get a videotape of Alfie Lewis, like a bunch of his fights, like a bunch of them. And I'm studying his fights, I'm watching them. I'm watching them first as a fan, like just watching them. Well, who's this guy? I mean, this guy's good. And I'm watching him like, man, and I asked the guy, so when was this made? He said, this is 80s, 90s. I was like, this is the 80s and the 90s? Now, mind you, I'm watching this sometime last year. So we in 2011 last year. And I'm watching, and I'm impressed now with what I saw back then. So Alfie to me was ahead of his time, man. He was doing stuff now. He was doing stuff then that guys are not even doing now, or he was doing stuff then that he was doing stuff then that guys can't even do now. You know, so I was like, man, you know, watching Alfie, the one thing that really caught my eye about Alfie, not only was he smart and fast, but Alfie would outpoint you and beat you up. You know, you got a lot of these guys now, they'll get some points on you, but they're not gonna beat you up. Or they'll beat you up, but they can't win. Alfie was the guy that just had all of it, had the attitude, had the athleticism, apparently had the work ethic, you know, had that aggression, that sharp attitude, you know. So, man, I got the utmost respect for Alfie, man, and, you know, and then watching him and then meeting him in person was a great honor of mine, man. So, you know, big shout out to Alfie Lewis, an inspiration to me. You know, I really wish I was around or had a time machine where I can go back in his time and really get to meet him and compete with him, win, lose, or draw, you know. But the one thing I can say about Alfie to everybody, if you get a chance to meet Alfie, watch him. If he gets to talk to you, listen. If you get to see him fight or his students fight, study. All right, so he's one of those few guys that not only did it, but was able to translate the information to his students, and now they're doing it. So, I mean, again, big shout out to you, Alfie, the utmost respect for you, man. We look up to you, and, you know, we honor you, and, you know, one of the best that ever did it in the game. And, you know, I salute you, sir, and much respect.